different kinds of things, the decent and the street ordinary. In my opinion, I think the article is on point about how these two groups are viewed in society, and I completely agree with it. I had identified past, present, future as a cultural language because I don't think the street have ever or will ever change. Decent families tend to accept mainstream values more fully and attempt to instill them in their children, while street families tend to show lack of consideration for others and have a rather superficial sense of family and community.
My opinion of the article gave me much insight because even though I wasn't raised in the street, I have it's always been my surroundings. So the street code is basically the rules that have been set in place not to be broken by anyone, and a lot of people live in fear and others live in power because of these rules. The code has been the same for years, and it's basically not going to go anywhere and not going to change.
I think question number 6 from what specific cultural language could I identify? I think symbols, cultural transmission, and goal-oriented behavior. Because nice clothing and jewelry are symbols of respect and admiration. In the game, one must dress accordingly. These values are not shared by descent-oriented youth. Descent-oriented youth can culturally transmit its values and norms to the street-oriented youth, or the direct opposite situation can occur when the two meet in a social setting. This cultural understanding develops when street-oriented youth go to school and learn about how the mainstream values, which are contradictory to the values that they learn in their street-oriented homes. Hard work and a commitment to success are the goals that are enshrined in the descent-oriented youth by the descent family from adolescence. The street-oriented youth are enshrined with the polar opposite. One more thing I have to say. So I also picked question number 3, but I'm gonna make it very briefly because I know my time is running out.
Thank you.
What other elements of culture were I able to identify? I was able to identify the values that both of the aforementioned families have. Descent families are committed to middle-class values, while street families are committed to violence and dysfunctional lifestyles. The descent families have mainstream norms, such as respect for one's neighbors and proper social behavior in public. The street family does not show respect for their neighbors, and they exhibit bad behavior when they are in public. The descent family tells their children that they will be rewarded for working hard and being on time for work or school. The street family tells their street youth to enforce violence to get what they want in life. If they back down from a fight, they will be punished for it. The street family's mother or father will tell the child to get out there and fight because they did not raise them to be a punk. If they do not beat the person up, then they will get beat up by their mother or father when the fight is over to toughen them up or instill discipline within them. The descent-oriented youth know from their grooming that it is right to walk away from a fight with their self-esteem still intact. This is a code of the streets language, which everyone, whether they be street-oriented or descent-oriented, is expected to know according to the author.
What I did was I picked out points that I thought was true for street families and decent families. So my first one is for street families. Their children learn their values of life through the streets versus the decent families, where their children learn their values from their parents. Street children are taught to go out and fight and not to be at home versus decent families who teach their kids to avoid the situations that might lead them to fight them. In the neighborhood, in the street neighborhood, you'll see drug addicts, burglars, and shooting versus people in decent families who they're involved in their community, they go to church. And my last point is street family parents punish them by yelling at them and physical abuse versus decent family parents who discuss with their children is wrong when they get in trouble.
I was very satisfied with the article because it gave the reader a clear understanding of the code of the streets. Material culture produced my reaction to this article because it talked about the daily lives of the inner city youth. This article had many different sociological perspectives, but the one that stood out the most, in my opinion, was the conflict perspective because it talked about confrontation and physical violence, which is common in the community.
To start off, I thought the article was very thought-provoking. I generally had a knowledge of the code of the streets, but it gave me a greater insight. about the social statuses of the inner city. But I think there's a misconception about inner city lifestyles. People tend to think about the street-oriented aspect as opposed to the decent. Elijah Anderson did a good job of making this. Did a good job of making this evident. The decent tend to lean on the mainstream side, and the street-oriented, like, they're dysfunctional. There's a discrepancy among parenting styles, particularly in education. The street-oriented families don't really, I don't want to say care about their children's education, but the decent tend to be more involved. Another point that I wanted to point out is violence. Street-oriented families are more, they tend to be more violent, and that's about it.
That it?